Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I have here my special guest, my brother. And today we're going to be talking, basically just sharing little stories about me and him growing up and our relationship together and some of the very bizarre, perverted things that we would do.
Not perverted.
John, they're going to...
Off-color.
Perverted, whatever you want to label it. But we're just going to share you some stories of our childhood growing up together. And for those of you who don't know, my name is Daniel. This is my brother John, J-O-N.
I was going to say my name, but okay. As you know, Dan is a huge Star Wars fan. Some might even say nerd. And growing up, we had plastic lightsabers. I mean, who didn't, right? So we used to do a lot of lightsaber fights. And before we had the lightsabers, though, we had these plastic bats. They were yellow plastic bats.
They were hard. One
was a wiffle type bat, so it didn't hurt as bad. But the other one was... It wasn't a wiffle bat, and it hurt a lot.
It was like this thick, rounded plastic, but it was not hollow, so it was really, you could actually hit someone with it, and it would really, really hurt.
It was like a stick. Anyway, so we would always have Jedi battles, and we'd use force powers and stuff like that. And the rule was that if you got hit on the arm, you would lose the arm, but you could still fight, because, you know, it cauterizes the wound, you're not going to bleed to death, you're good to go. If you lost a leg, you have to hop up and down.
Yes.
If you lost 2 legs, you'd be stubby, but you could still fight. My strategy was always to take out Dan's legs first.
Because I was short and I was fat at that time.
And then all I'd have to do is like whittle away his limbs, and if you got the head, obviously it was all over. But so yeah.
And then we'd always, because I would always use the hard bat, because I always liked to be more violent with items. I'd always give my brother bloody knuckles, because when I'd hit him on the knuckles, because of how hard the plastic was, it would actually bruise and cause blood to him. And I was obsessed with violence then, and I still am today.
I think you got your knuckles beaten more often than mine, because you would like, "Ow!" You wouldn't cry, but you'd go, "I hate you!" Or you run off, and then a few minutes later, like, "Okay, let's go again."
Yes, I had a very interesting...
He had an amazing healing factor, like Wolverine.
Yes, Wolverine.
So, I used to tuck Dan into bed at night.
So yeah, there's this story which a lot of people are going to find odd, but when I was younger, how old was I? Maybe 8?
No, maybe like 5 and 6 maybe.
5 and 6, okay, I was 5 and 6, and my brother would tuck me in a lot, tuck me into bed just because I loved my brother back then.
Back then, yes.
Back then. And one of the things that he would do to me is he would lay down in my bed with me, don't worry.
It sounds terrible.
Just let me explain. And he would
on top of the covers.
He would tell me these stories which consisted of someone always having to go to the bathroom. More specifically, they would have to go poop. And the story would always be centered around the person not being able to get to the bathroom in time and ending up pooping their pants.
These stories always hit very close to home.
And through all the storytelling, it would always be a different person, but they would never make it to the bathroom. that was the point of this. I don't know why, but I was fascinated with these stories, and I would have him come in every night. I would have him come on my bed, and he would tell me these stories of people not making it to the bathroom.
Right. I wouldn't just go in there and say, "Hey, it's poop time." He would say, "Brothers, would you tell me a story?" or something.
Yeah,
like
I would say brothers because of my speech impediment back then, which I still have today.
We would usually say a prayer before bed, and then I think the stories would come out.
That's even worse. We say a prayer and then we talk about poop. But along with the stories, there was a song which he would sing to me after the story, which was called the Poop Song, which consisted of, if I can do this without laughing.
Sing it together.
Sure.
Alright.
3, 2, 1. Poops, 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 poops. The most wonderful thing in the world is poops, 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 poops. A push and a squeeze and it comes out with ease. Yes, that is the song he would sing to me after the bedtime story of poop. So, yeah, that's the second story of growing up on my childhood.
It probably had something to do with transitioning Dan from diapers to pants. I'm sure that's what it was.
I was not in diapers at 6. I'm sorry. I knew how to go to the bathroom then.
Okay, well, another story One that's a little less disturbing. We grew up playing Super Smash Brothers on the N64.
Yeah!
And I always played Link, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And he was usually... Kirby, right. And as you know, if you ever use Link in that game, he has no real recovery moves except its little spin, which is kind of just straight up in the air. And if you don't get the ledge, you're dead. So Dan would always choose, was it the Yoshi's Story?
Yoshi's Story map with the 2 clouds.
It opens up his book and it's got a cloud here, and then it's got
2 clouds.
a bigger cloud,
Is it 3
and then a tiny little cloud.
All the way to the corner of the map, which is
Probably
basically the out zone, so you'd easily get, if you jump off of there, you're dead.
Right, so as Link, I had to use jump again, and spin just to get out to that farthest cloud. Dan would just sort of come down gently with his feet and knock me off. It was kind of brutal, but we called that my cloud. It's like King of the Hill, but my cloud. So whoever ruled the roost of the cloud would just kind of sit out there and wait to be attacked.
And I would always win because I was Kirby, and Link has such a limited spin attack that I would get my brother all the way out to the cloud at the right side of the map, right? And he has such a terrible jumping ability, and I'm Kirby, so I just float to the next thing and just do my little... What is that? That sword move where he goes up and he goes down,
and even
I'd always win.
Even if I managed to knock him off, he would just float right back out there gently with his feet, and that'd be the end of the story.
Yeah, Kirby's melee attack with his feet was such a powerful move in that game.
But I won a few times.
Another very odd story is when my brother would do math, and this was also when I was 6, 7, I would crawl under the table in which he was doing his math, and I would talk to his feet.
He was very attention-starved as a little kid.
Yes, I was very attention-starved, and my parents never loved me like they should have.
What?
But...
I got more spankings than anybody in the family.
That is true, and that's my
kids.
point. They didn't love me as much as
You
they
got a lot of attention, but not a lot of love.
I would talk to my brother's feet, and I was, what was their name? Freddy and what?
Freddy and Stinky.
Yes, Freddy and Stinky. And me being the imaginative person I was, you know, I would pretend I was Duke Nukem all the time and other characters. I talked to his feet, Freddy and Stinky, and I'd have full-on conversations while my mom was having piano lessons in the other room.
You asked me all sorts of strange questions, like, how can you see if you don't have any eyes? And do you ever get tired of stinking and wearing socks all the time? I mean, do you feel naked without socks? And I'm probably just making these up.
No, I ask a lot of interesting, weird questions to your feet. But
does it hurt when your nails are clipped?
Next story, pot pie. Go.
Oh, right, pot pie. Well,
this is a story I don't like.
This is probably a story that Dan might take over once I start it, but he used to be fascinated, and he used to love chicken pot pies.
Remember, when I was young, I was fat.
He wasn't fat, he just wasn't proportionate height-wise to girth. So it happens to a lot of us. So, pot pies. Almost, not every day, but maybe every other day, like, open up the freezer and, oh, pot pie! I'd come into the kitchen.
Pot pie!
And there'd be pot pie. So he loved these things, and I didn't really care, but I just thought, my brother's eating pot pies all the time. He's like a little chubby pot pie machine. So I do a little picture. This stout little fellow eating pot pies.
Yeah, and explain.
And for some reason or another, we can't actually remember now, I drew him with a face that was pretty much a circle with a crack down the middle.
In other words, my head was a butt.
He was a butt-headed pot pie eating fiend.
So the picture consisted of me holding a pot pie, a fork, steam coming off the pot pie, and my head was the shape of a butt with a butthole.
It did not have
a butt has
it was
one
a cheek
with a crack down the middle.
It was a very modest bare bottom.
Bare bottom? People don't use the word bottom. It's called your butt.
People use the word bottom of the shelf.
Not terms for our butt, though. That's like so old school. It's like, no.
Alright, our last little story, or vignette as you might want to call it, was the origin of the title Blood of Dust. Now, chances are you're not familiar with the spoof movie trailer that Dan and I made a couple of years ago. But
Still on my channel. It's really, really old video though, so most of you haven't seen it.
it's called Danbo 3?
Danbo 3.
Danbo 3, Blood of Dust Part 2.
Which was an off-take of the new Rambo movie that came out a few years ago.
Right. So it's also like a Rambo and a buddy cop spoof. Anyway, it's just a trailer. Oh, that's what we titled it, and well, I'm sure a lot of people scratched their heads as to what does that mean. But there used to be this N64 game called Turok 2: Seeds of Evil.
I still have that.
And Dan enjoyed that game so much that he tried to come up with his own awesome sounding titles. And Blood of Dust was one of those awesome titles. And we picked it for the subtitle for our fake movie trailer because it doesn't actually make any sense. we tried to reason through it like,
Blood of Dust.
Seeds of Evil, evil seeds. Blood of Dust? It doesn't even make sense, so I thought it was perfect.
And that's what we use for our cheesy trailer spoof, which is linked down below in the description. If you actually want to watch it, the trailer that was made almost, what, 3 years ago, you can watch it.
And if you like it enough, we might make a sequel movie trailer.
Yeah!
To the movie that we never made.
With HD! And not a little tiny camera can only film 640 by whatever.
Right.
So yeah, those are our little stories. I just thought we'd make a video and share with you. We're best friends even now.
We're related. They
Yeah,
are.
by
He's
blood.
20 years old, and I just turned 28. So
We're both single, ladies.
we both weigh approximately the same.
How much do you weigh?
About 130.
Yeah, we do. We do weigh the same, but I'm a lot more toned than him.
Right. My brains, well, they're up here. I was gonna say my brawn is up here.
And where are you implying my brains to be? Pie! That's what I thought. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Peace the rep out. My brother's YouTube channel, which he does make videos, is also linked down below in the description. Check his channel out if you like this face.
And really, what's not to like? Sometimes I even shave.
Not usually. Bye!